Do this one thing, and you'll be comfortable in your own skin in all situations. Even when you're feeling pain, even when there's loss, even when you're feeling sadness, even when things did not go the way you thought they would. Or rather, stop doing this one thing. It can be thought of both ways. What is the one thing? It has to do with resistance. The moment we stop resisting life, the moment we stop resisting experiences and all of their forms, suffering essentially ends, truly. Now, this usually, or I would say almost always, happens in the context of awakening and realization. It tends to happen as we move into deeper stages of realization and we've done a good amount of emotion and shadow work. But there are no rules to this. This happens in all different types of ways. I've met people who have significant deep stage realization, no sense of a subject or an object, even a sense of ongoing formlessness or non-duality, but are still quite reactive. So this non-resistance can be elusive even in deep stage realization. And on the other hand, I've occasionally met someone who doesn't seem to be interested in realization and doesn't come across as someone who is fully awake, and yet for whatever reason they just don't resist things. They don't resist the twists and turns of life, even the things that most people would resist: tragedies, pain, loss, all of it, illness. You've probably met someone like this. They're usually very enjoyable people to be around because they're not resisting or pushing and pulling on anything, including you. And you can usually feel that. It feels like acceptance or just equanimity or just liking the person. They're very likable people. So we've all met people like this. But occasionally you'll come across someone who, for whatever reason, they just don't seem to resist anything. And they're just lovely people to be around. And you can tell they deeply enjoy life, even when they're feeling sad or even when they're feeling angry. They're often probably not that angry, but sadness, loss, and so forth, they seem to just adjust really, really well. One movie comes to mind. It's called Life is Beautiful, about a man who ends up with his family in a concentration camp in Nazi Germany. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. But he's a good example of this. So what does it mean to practice non-resistance? And by practice, I don't mean get ready for non-resistance. I mean to live it out moment to moment. And is it possible for you? And how hard is that to achieve? Well, this is one of those really strange things when it comes to this whole process. Some aspects of it really take some deep investigation, some really discerning and subtle investigation of perceptual filters like non-duality and so forth. And sometimes those things even just come spontaneously as well. But this in particular is very interesting. It's one of those things that we can struggle with so much. But the act of non-resistance, the act of just not resisting anything in your life, ongoing in this moment, which is this moment, which is really seamless with presence, is very easy to do. You just have to surrender to it. You have to just let go of all your ideas about how life should be or shouldn't be. And it's not hard to find that in your own processing. Just listen to your own thoughts. Listen to your words. Listen to how you talk to people. You're walking around really believing and communicating that it should not be this way. He shouldn't be this way. He should treat me like that. She should treat me like that. My boss should respect my work. The world should be a more peaceful place. Anytime we should ourselves, or should all over ourselves, so to speak, we're really only hurting ourselves, ultimately. You know, there's an outward effect. You know, people who complain a lot kind of have an effect on others around them, and it can kind of bring a sort of negative environment to the surface. But ultimately, it's really about you and it's your own responsibility. And if you just decide, regardless of how I was taught, regardless of how anyone else communicates or what they believe. What do I care about that? I'm going to decide that whatever's happening right now is perfectly okay, no matter how much it challenges me, no matter how much it forces me to question my beliefs, no matter how much I have to let go of. What's happening right now is just what's happening. I'm not going to resist it anymore. I'm not going to push life away. I'm going to notice a judgment as a single thought, and I'm going to feel into that thought. I'm going to feel what it feels like to be judgment. And I'm not going to resist that. I'm not going to resist any thought, but I'm going to see it as a thought. I'm not going to resist any belief, but I am going to see it as a belief. What's right in front of my face is the only way things could be. What I'm feeling right now, sensations, emotions, is the only thing I could be feeling right now. The sounds, just as they are the only possible sounds. If there's a thought that says those sounds are annoying, then that's the only possible thought right now. Those sounds are annoying. What is that thought made of? Where is it? Inhabit. Fully feel into that thought. How do you know when you're fully feeling into a thought? You don't feel polarized with it anymore. The thought doesn't feel heavy. Feel into every thought. Feel into every belief, every experience fully. Keep reminding yourself this is okay. This is how life has constructed it. I trust life. If it's God for you, I trust God. If it's reality for you, I trust reality. If it's the Dharma, I trust the Dharma. How do you turn the wheel of the Dharma? You don't try to turn it backwards. You don't resist it. You feel. Notice. Experience. Don't analyze. Don't judge. Don't push. Don't pull. This is non-resistance, and you definitely can do it. You just have to give yourself permission, because no one will give you permission to do this. Very few people will. I'll give you permission, but you don't need anyone's permission, including mine. Most communication, including movies, music, the ways we talk to one another, even quote unquote positive thinking, success principle type thinking, self-help stuff, like so much of this still has a built-in resistance. Something's wrong, I need to fix it. Here's how I fix it, etc. Just see that. What if nothing needs fixed? What if your life exactly as it is right now is perfectly okay? Feel that. Feel into it. And just live it. There's going to be ups and downs. When you live this way, it's kind of like a roller coaster. At first, especially. If the pain comes, let it come. Emotional pain, resistance, that's what's here. Feel it, feel it, feel it. Non-resistance has to mean non-resistance of resistance. That means if you feel resistance, notice it. Go deeper into it. Get closer. Feel the resistance in the body, and then notice that's actually not resistance until I call it resistance. That's a sensation. Now find the resistance in the mind. Oh, the resistance is a belief that says, I don't want this to be here right now. That's how you do it. There's nowhere you cannot go. Nothing is left out. There's no dark place. There's only light as long as you're willing to continue into it. To see what's there, feel what's there. Trust it. Really, it comes down to trust. Trusting life instead of your own perceptions, your own beliefs, your own resistances. So, in all seriousness and literally speaking, the way to stop suffering is to live non-resistance. Non-resistance inwardly and non-resistance outwardly. That includes the thoughts that will almost inevitably come when I say this in your mind that will also almost always use the most extreme examples. Well, should I not resist someone trying to stab me with a knife? Right? Should we not resist dictators. Yeah. Well, first of all, these are theoretical, almost always, for you, when your mind is saying this. It's just not wanting to hear this message. And second of all, if those situations occur and you truly live in non-resistance, then your responses to those dynamic situations will be intelligent. They'll make sense in the relative world. You will run if someone has a knife in front of you and they look like a threat, or you'll fight. You'll do what you have to do because it's a natural movement. You're not resisting your body. You're not resisting your natural responses to the environment. So don't worry when your mind tells you all these. It's just being skeptical. But don't resist that either. Just see, oh, okay, that's fear. That's the mind having some fear because it's afraid to let go in this way. So it comes up with a justification to ultimately keep analyzing and judging and pushing and pulling on life.